What is behind the success of top real estate agents and mortgage lenders? What tactics, strategies, and lessons learned have they used to break through and achieve elite status? Top performing real estate and mortgage lenders from across the country answer these questions and so much more right here on Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. So get ready because we are about to get real. Now here is your host of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes National Director, Abby Waltz.
Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 60 of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes, where each week I am joined by one of the nation's top producing real estate agents and mortgage professionals willing to share the secrets behind their success. This week's show, like most, has a fresh and unique perspective from a top producer in the real estate industry. But I am especially excited to share this week's show with you as it's a story that we don't come across very often. Our very special guest, Nikki Moore out of Marysville, Tennessee, is now a top producing real estate agent and broker, but she actually started her professional life out as a cop with ambitions to become the deputy chief of police. When her family dynamics changed with new kiddos at home, so did her career path. On this week's show, Nikki shares the lessons she learned in law enforcement and how she's been able to apply those to her successful real estate career. Having also been a negotiator in law enforcement, she shares tips on how to connect with others, how to manage potentially unrealistic expectations, and how to bring a little bit of color to maybe a black and white negotiation that will really pull out positive emotions from both your clients and the agent on the other side of the transaction, all to help you win that negotiation. She also gets super candid with her struggle to find a work and family life balance and the steps that she's taken that now allow her to be more present and available at home. Plus, she'll share exactly how she's grown her team, some of the missteps she had early on, and the things she's doing to adapt through it all right now to become the incredibly successful, yet powerfully genuine, authentic, and humble person that she is today. I hope you are ready for this one, my friends. Let's get real with Nikki Moore. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. We are on episode 60, and as you can see, I have yet another amazing top producing guest with me, willing to share her secrets behind the success that she has had in recent years. I'm going to introduce Nikki in just a minute, but before I do, for those of you tuning in, thank you so much for joining our live virtual audience via Zoom. You've got a couple of great features down below in your control bar. One is the chat function. If you hear something that you really like, if you want to just reiterate maybe a takeaway that you had, let others see that. Go ahead and use that chat function to kind of share the love. Drake, I am so excited to see you too. Yes, we do monitor that throughout the show. You've got a Q&A section as well, but we'll keep an eye on both as things roll in. So use those throughout the entire show. We will have a great Q&A session with Nikki towards the end of this show. So as you can see, I've got Nikki Moore with me. She is a top producing real estate specialist with Homes for Heroes for us. She joined our Ruby Circle of Giving last year, which means she served over 50 heroes. Can you believe that? Over 50 heroes in 1 year, which is just outstanding. She's a part of our 100 Heroes Served Club. She's given back over $230,000 in hero rewards to support the local heroes in her community, which I think is just outstanding. And she's been with us for, Nikki, you've been with us maybe 4 years or so, just about?
Yep, it'll be 4 years this October.
Okay, and you've been in the industry for 16, give or take?
16 years? No. I'm going on year 5. So I joined Homes for Heroes just shortly after becoming an agent.
Okay, and you've got some experience before with construction and that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I bought our first house, my first house in 2004. Did a little bit of remodeling to it, and then my husband and I, our last house before, we completely redid the basement and to bring extra gain, and sold it, and then we got into flipping homes before I got in real estate. So got our feet wet with selling that, the one we were living in, and then took that bulk money and started remodeling homes.
That's awesome. So you've been around and kind of dabbling in different areas with investing and flipping, and then also becoming an agent as well, which I think it helps us be so much more well-rounded for our clients. Has that helped serve you well over the years?
Yeah, very well, because before I got into real estate, I actually people would follow me on Facebook because of the flipping homes. And just because I just love designing them and things like that. It's nothing spectacular, didn't go to school for it, but it's just fun. Remember sanding floors back in the day, and that was not very fun. Mistakes made, and just posting things like that would help create that before.
Very cool. Well, I will be picking your brain after this, because I am remodeling my bathroom right now, and I've got some wallpaper I've got to figure out how to remove.
Oh, yeah.
We'll connect offline about that. But I absolutely love your story and your background about how you kind of came to be in this industry before you even started doing flipping homes and construction and all that kind of stuff. Tell me a bit about your career path prior to all of your real estate stuff.
So I knew I always wanted to do something in serving. So I always thought I was too short to be a police officer. So I started out in healthcare, and finally got the courage to say, well, I'll put in an application. It was funny because I found out through a friend that one of the chiefs was actually about the same height as me. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I could do this. So I did. I put in my application and joined with the Knoxville Police Department, and served as a patrol officer there for 8 years prior to real estate. And I loved it, still love it. But I had my son who at the time, I went back to work, went back to patrol. And as many of you know, that officers, there's no quitting time. If something's going on, you got to stay. You can't just be like, oh, I got to call for service and leave. So it just became really demanding. My husband and I did a lot of overtime just to make, extra expenditures work, because we both were police officers. So it just kind of took over me being able to be with my child. So we decided to get our hands dirty into flipping as a side job, and it went great. So I left law enforcement, turning my badge to be able to become a flipper at the time, and then later I got my real estate license. So it's been great. It really has. And then Homes for Heroes has allowed me to work with my brothers and sisters that I did, on the streets, but just in a different capacity. So.
Very cool. Very cool. I know a lot of our people probably on here, we talk a lot about real estate, but the hero world is so different. And I'm sure it was very unique being a police officer. If there was one thing that you learned, at least in law enforcement, maybe even I'm putting you on the spot here, but a life lesson that you kind of had come about. I know you come at it from a servant's heart, especially with healthcare and then law enforcement, and now teaming up with us. But what was one of your big takeaways being a police officer?
Oh gosh, many. But if you're asking for something that's helped me in real estate, I'd say the biggest thing has been rapport building. I would say rapport building, because you don't meet a stranger. You can't be afraid to talk to someone in law enforcement, because you have to talk to strangers constantly on a daily basis, some in a good way and some in a bad way. So, and you may have to comfort those who have lost somebody that are complete strangers. So there's so many things that you would have to, learn to connect with people, because you need to let them know that you care for them. And that has definitely helped, because I'm not afraid to talk to people, and genuinely talk to people, not in a fake way to gain their business, that I genuinely care about them, and be able to express that to them in a way that helps them feel comfortable. And it's definitely, I think, helped, speed up my progression in real estate so quickly.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. You definitely do have to talk to strangers, and we have to do that in our business too. I know, just knowing you and talking with you before this, you were also a negotiator, were you not?
Yes. That was one of the most favorite things to do as an officer. So it was definitely fun. I've been in some negotiations, and being on point, the primary person talking to behind the scenes. Every role is important, and it's definitely something that we trained very often with at the police department, and has helped. I'd say it's helped quite a bit in real estate as well. Totally different negotiations. Not really life-threatening. Some people feel like it's an emergency, but it's definitely been helpful And I missed that part, but I've got a little bit of a touch in it now. Of course, you got to negotiate some in real estate, right?
Yeah, definitely. It may not be life or death, but sometimes the stress level for us feels like it.
Oh, yeah. Talking about stress level. When I was in real estate school, I remember sitting there in class, and I was still a police officer at the time. And no, I wasn't a police officer, just retired. And they were like, oh, this is one of the top 5 professions that's the most stressful. And I laughed. I literally just started laughing and I just stopped myself. I was like, these people don't know what stress is. This is not life or death, Now I get it. I completely get it. It is a different type of stress, and it is definitely a stressful profession. But, I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So any pointers from a negotiator's standpoint that you've been able to apply to negotiations in real estate?
I mean, it's kind of a different animal because usually the agent's on the other side. But having to calm your client when they're not winning the negotiation like they want because you're up against a hard situation on the other end, or the other people just don't want to give in to repairs, or right now there's no negotiating in price pretty much. There's a little bit, but there's not much in our market. I don't know about anybody else's, but being able to comfort your client and let them see things at a level that's hard to pull emotion out of, because even real estate's emotional. Most people are spending the most money they've ever spent in their whole entire lives. So I would say that has definitely been helpful, is just getting your client on a level of, you're not buying the seller. This repair, is it worth, losing the house you won over? Let's find a way to work with this. That's one thing. And then, without giving too many tricks out of the bag, when you are trying to negotiate on price or trying to negotiate with repairs with the other agent, just pulling in factors into it and not letting it just be black and white. In negotiations, you usually, want to bring out all the emotions to find out what's going on, or you want to steer away from emotions that are going to hurt, the negotiation. So being able to speak to them without just saying, hey, I sent that over and being done, put words behind it, find a way to draw in, hey, this is why this needs to be done, this is why it's important, has been helpful to just sending something over black and white, I think.
So you're talking even like negotiations and presentations with agents, not just with your clients too, right? Pulling them into the story and being able to find a level playing field and drawing out, like you said, the positive emotions when you can, right?
Yes, and part of it's just being real, I guess you'd say. And there's definitely some great agents out there, and there's some that you never would talk to on the phone during the whole transaction, which is hard. So I think it's helped on both, but more on a client-agent relationship of getting them through a stressful situation. So
definitely, I could literally talk to you about negotiations all day long, because this is one of my favorite, like, figuring out human dynamics and how to just you're relating to people and you're building that rapport and relationships. And I think there's tips and pointers to do that with different personality types. So we could, have at it, like share as tips and tricks as you want to.
We can get you in town one day, and maybe you can go to a negotiator training session with us, because they do invite visitors to help with some of their negotiations. Because if you're always negotiating with a cop that you're always negotiating with, it's kind of gets dull. So it's good to have new people come in. So just let me know.
Okay, deal. Next time for sure.
Yeah.
And guys, if you've got questions about kind of what she just shared, because there were a lot of tips shared within what she just said, from negotiating with other agents and negotiating and helping your clients along the way, kind of get the emotional equity and emotional IQ that they need to get through their transactions, because that's what it's all about, making them feel calm and relating to them and making sure that they know you're on their side. Type those questions in. She will be, Nikki will do wonders answering it much better than I will be able to, for sure. So you have grown with us so much over the years. What's your, explain to me your approach, because not everybody sees the level of success that you have. I mean, you close 50 plus hero transactions alone. I know that's not your only business that you're doing. I know it's a lot of it because that's your sphere of influence, but what's your approach to the industry, and what do you attribute some of your successes to?
Like you said, the sphere of influence, I think, is huge, because that's typically, my hero base. But I don't look at Homes for Heroes as, oh, it's a referral, or, I look at it as, hey, that's the refrigerator, or hey, that's their first mortgage payment. So it brings me joy to see giving back to those heroes the money that goes to them. And then the same thing with the sellers. It brings me joy to help that situation. So I think it's just mainly, I'm very passionate about it. I care about what's going on with it. I don't look at it as, hey, look how much money I'm making this month. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you, because I don't ever look at the numbers. I just know my bills are being paid. Let my husband help me out with that a little bit. He's the mortgage guy now, so he can be our finance guy. So I think it is literally, I'm just super passionate about reaching those heroes, because before, like I was in, buying and selling houses before I was an agent, and I was a police officer, and my husband was a police officer. So we could have benefited by a Homes for Heroes agent or Homes for Heroes lender or title companies. We didn't know they existed. So I think the big thing is just getting out and loving on those heroes and letting them know, hey, this program exists. It's not a scam. It's real. And then their word of mouth once they do a transaction, or just building that rapport with people you don't know, also spreading words to the people you do know, your former relationships with people that you worked with. I think has just been a big spring forward for me, by just getting out and talking and meeting people and just giving them information about the program.
Very cool. Has it helped you expand your sphere? Because coming from, healthcare, I know that was a while back, but also law enforcement too, you would think that you would already have had the business, the sphere of influence. Has teaming up with a program that serves and supports them expanded what you thought you could have reached before?
Oh yeah, completely. I believe, because yes, law enforcement does touch, EMS, and we go to the hospitals and firefighters. We are always answering calls with firefighters. But there's been, military. We have a lot of military that are police officers and stuff, but then at the same time, going to the bases and making connections that I would have not made before, or even just going and visiting the recruiting stations, things of that nature. Now I've got great friends in the military that I didn't even know before, just telling them about the program. And of course, they're appreciative of it. Tough times going on with military that, past several years have been, anything will help. So I definitely would say, even though I've had this sphere of influence, I think Homes for Heroes alone, being able to show that so many people care nationwide too, even if they're not going to live here at the recruiting stations, they're going to relocate somewhere else in the U.S. So I can by all means send them to another Homes for Heroes, agent in the U.S., and they're all excited about that because they don't plan to buy here, but they plan to buy, back where their family is. So I think there's different things, definitely military. And I would say even healthcare, because I would have never spoke to some of the people that I've spoke to now, because of, before I touched base with people in Knoxville, well, I also, work and live in Loudoun County, and our office is in Maryville. So I would say that Homes for Heroes has definitely helped me branch out to reach more people in that direction as well.
Very good. So let's take a dive into what your client experience looks like, and then we can go maybe bigger picture philosophy stuff if you want to. But client experience wise, we all tout ourselves in having the top notch, white glove, concierge, whatever you want to call it, customer experience. What does that look like for you and your client's hero or non?
I guess, so you're asking, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I think I got some background noise for a moment. Hang on one second, I'm trying to turn the volume up.
Okay.
I apologize. If I can find the volume button. Okay, here we go. Someone walked in, I think it was the UPS delivering something, and they started talking in the hall behind me, so I caught half of what you said. I'm so sorry. Okay. I think I can hear a little bit now.
Right? When I hate calling them leads because they're people, right? But when a lead comes in, or when you're first introduced to somebody, what are you doing to go above and beyond for them to leave that lasting impression and to make them feel like they're the only ones that you're working with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like I said before, black and white, I say that often. I feel like, you bring color to a situation. So, it's not about me telling them about me. I want to hear about them. I want to listen to what they're looking for and actually take care into that. So whether I'm setting up a search for a home, they may tell me several things that I can check a box for, but I want to know more. If I know of a home that's out there that's going to be perfect for them, but you can't check a box for it, like what's something you're desiring in a home? So taking the time to listen and care, as well as, explaining what I can do for them, even if they're listing their home, explaining the marketing stuff that I do and things like that. I always try to focus more on them, because in the end, it's all about them. So I think that's always been great, hang up the phone call, because just taking the time to listen is always key for me. Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any, I know I've got my catchphrases that I catch myself saying like all the time. Do you have any key open-ended questions that you tend to ask your clients to get to pull out their story and their details?
I don't think I have any key catchphrases, and I may actually say the same things over and over, but and I really should have something I say every single phone call, I guess. I would never was into like the coaching phone call thing, but I've heard people do great at it. Um, I would just say I always rely on how the conversation is being led by them and dig into what they're trying to tell me. So that way they know I'm listening, like I said a moment ago. So I wouldn't say a catchphrase. I think it's more situational.
Got it. Very cool. We've actually got a question, and I'm going to throw this in here right now because it does have to do with clients and kind of their customer experiences. Drake is asking about setting expectations, which I think is so important in our industry, helping educate people, what to expect, but how the process goes. And the more that you can educate them, the more you're able to overcome obstacles that are bound to come up, right? Any tips for A, setting expectations, and then B, say I'm a client and I've got some unrealistic expectations, right? Whether you're a seller and the home price is super high or a buyer with champagne taste on a beer budget, how do you overcome unrealistic expectations?
Most of the time, if I have people with champagne, taste on a beer budget, or, I like to go ahead and try to do a search with them while I'm on the phone with them. So I'll go ahead and be like, what are you looking for? And then I'll plug it in, and, I can see, well, in this market, there's so many homes that mostly are going multiple offers and they're getting above asking price. And I'll be like, what you're looking for, say 5-bedroom, walk-in, move-in ready for $100,000 it's not realistic. I'll be happy to share with you what I do have here. I've got these a couple homes here, but the loan type you're getting, you're not going to be able to find anything. I like to educate them and let them know by seeing if I can immediately, so that way they don't think that I'm just trying to talk them out of something they want. It's not throw up your guard kind of conversation for them. It is, hey, I'm showing you what's out there. And then at that point, some take a little longer. Some don't get it right away, and they're like, oh, but it's still going to happen. I'm like, okay, we can try, but we do have to be realistic, and this is what your options are. So what can we trim down to get more of what you want, rather than just squashing it away and saying, yeah, I'll just pass this person on to someone else. So.
Very good. How about sellers? Because we all run into those situations too.
Yeah. Okay. So I just had an experience where, well, not too long ago, where another agent had set an unrealistic expectation to a seller. They didn't get the listing because they were very, very pushy and made the person feel uncomfortable. So my sellers contacted their family member and said, who do you know? So speaking with them, I knew I was already set up for a challenge because from what I was told, they said that they could list their house for way more than what comps allowed. So I knew I already had that challenge in front of me. So instead of bringing the regular, comps that I bring on paper, instead I brought my computer, so I could sit down with them and say, let's click on these houses. Let's look at what's going on in the market here. And if I lose the listing because I'm telling you that, it shouldn't be listed at a certain amount, then, by all means go for it. But I don't want my sellers to ever have unrealistic expectations and to do that to win a listing, because it's all about honesty with me. I'd rather lose something being honest than gain $1 of the me dishonest.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that response for sure. Okay. So you have had pretty tremendous success in a very short amount of time, being that it's only your 5th year in the business, and you're closing that many transactions. How do I ask this? Succeeding that quickly can also mean that you fail a lot more than others do, right? What's one thing that you've kind of learned very quickly and adapted to in these short 5 years?
Having help. You can't do it all yourself. I have been always do it all myself. I feel bad asking for help. If I take on a challenge and I'm not about to drop the ball, I'll do whatever I can to get it done and done right, rather than slacking off. So in the beginning, I missed so much time with family. And so my big failure in the beginning, And even now, every once in a while, I still catch myself needing to schedule family time on the calendar, and it's sad, but it's true. So having hired an assistant, hands down, what I would say was the best decision ever. And then having a team that you can trust and that you know are going to take care of your clients the same way or even better than what you can treat them because you're busy is also tremendous. So, the Blevins group of who, I'm with now, they're just wonderful people. And if I need to schedule time for my kids, they're going to be there, and I know my clients are taken care of rather than me missing time with my kids. And I may be there, physically, but there's so many times that I'm in there physically and I'm on my phone or I'm looking up at contracts because I want my clients not to feel like they're not a priority because they are. So I would say that's number one, just having help and having good people not behind you, but beside you, with you working together to do the right thing for your clients and the best thing.
Yeah, that's a great way to figure out achieving work-life balance, which is what you were looking for when you left law enforcement, being able to be home and have that family time for sure. So
yes.
I think that's a great.
Yeah, I remember sitting down with my broker when I first came, and I was like, I don't want to be a top producer. I was like, I just want to do this on the side and help my husband so he doesn't have to work so much overtime as a cop. Because to make bills at the time when I'd left, yeah, flipping was good, but it's not a normal paycheck. So, and now look, everything's totally changed.
Yeah, for the better. I mean, not for the better. Yeah. It's just different, better, different. Got a lot of the perks for sure. So let's talk about your team. What's it look like from a structure standpoint right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm one of 4 owners of the Blevins group, and we have agents that are on our team as well that are provided with the same access to even Homes for Heroes to help get the word out there as well. And we have a transaction coordinator / assistant, and she helps us with all of our paperwork. Well, not all of it, most of it. And honestly, she's got nicknames called like the boss and mom, and because she helps keep us, paperwork and emails in line and with communication, which is key. Because when you're on the road driving a lot, it's hard to catch every single email that calls through or contract that comes through.
Yeah, definitely. So you've grown it clearly over the years, especially with more and more business coming in. You can support more and more agents on the team for sure. What did it look like at the very beginning? When did you know that you needed to add a team member, and what team member was it that you added first?
I think I did it the wrong way in the beginning because we thought add agents before assistant. So in turn, no, we really, it was really we need an assistant first. So and since then I've heard, and apparently a big article has been written about hiring an assistant first, because if you have someone to assist you with the things you can't get to, paperwork and things like that, then you can do more of the real estate side of it that, it's the licensed part of it. So I would say, in my experience from doing it both ways, I would say definitely an assistant first is key.
And then what kind of duties would you set your assistant up with? I know you always, as an agent, you always hit that plateau or that ceiling, if you will, when you're doing stuff on your own. There's just no way for one person to build and grow and systematically be able to sustain that without adding in team members. So what did you have? What would you recommend that the assistant do first?
Well, our assistant, we use Dotloop. I don't know what programs that other people use, but so we had, I would say have them trained in whatever program you type your contracts in. So that way, whenever paperwork starts rolling in, they know what comes next. Our really executives had classes. I don't know if they're still doing it because COVID, or maybe they're doing Zoom classes, but it's always good and key for them to be trained. If your brokerage has something that's helping train agents, see if your assistant can get training from your brokerage as well. So it's something you may be paying them to go get training, but it's way better than if you're a busy agent and you don't have time to train someone, or even see if there's another transaction coordinator out there that would be willing to train. But I would say so getting back to the system. So when it comes to anything paperwork-wise that an assistant can do legally, by all means, that's something that we've allowed to do. Setting up in emails whenever they first come in as a client and go under contract, to be able to communicate things like, this is your trust money due date, this is your closing due date, just introduction, and with the specific items that are important, that are going to happen in the very, timeline oriented, having that set on the line. So having your assistant keep your client on track with the timeline, as well as you on track with the timeline, because showing homes all day, sometimes you forget that repair appointment's due today. So that's key, is just making sure communication is happening, documents are happening. If agent needs something and I'm busy, they can contact the assistant to find out, do you know about this? And most of the time they're in the loop on everything. So it's a lot of forwarding emails, but that way you're both in a smooth transaction, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, very cool. Did you end up in the beginning at all setting up like auto forwarding emails for specific things, or were you manually forwarding it to your assistant just to keep them in the loop?
I still manually, just because now a lot of the time in the beginning she'll ask the other person, please copy me on all emails. So I don't have to forward any of those. But whenever I get notifications for certain stuff where there's, for instance, dot loop, it usually will not notify her too. It only notifies my email. So I'll just forward that on. So, but that's a good idea. We'll have to talk after this to talk about how some automatic emailing would be great.
Perfect. I am a systems and process nerd, right?
I'll help you with your bathroom. You help me with that, please.
Perfect. It's a deal. Even trade up, kind of, maybe. Oh, too funny. I think, Rosie, we just answered your question, but if you've got more ones coming in about that, please let us know for sure. And then you've got more agents than just one a part of your team. How did you know when it was time to add, although you added one at the beginning, how did you know when to add more? When did you get to that point?
Well, the Blevins group, when I joined, was already a team of 3. So, and they had other agents that were on their team, but the ownership was a team of 3. I was blessed with the opportunity that they gave me to join as one of their 4 main owners. Definitely a God thing in the timing it came. And they had already had some agents on their team at that time. And then we had the assistant that we were using before join the Blevins group, because they did have an assistant, but they didn't have a transaction coordinator necessarily. So it was a little bit different aspect from the way I was using the transaction coordinator based on what they were doing. So that was kind of brought to the team. And one of those ladies became an agent and asked if she could join the group. And of course, we welcomed her in with open arms, and she's on our team as well. Now that we've opened up our own brokerage, which we're still really execs, but COVID's kind of slowed things down a little bit. We don't want to be a brokerage with hundreds of agents where we don't have that family feel, but we are slowly starting to see other agents come to us and say, hey, let's talk and see about, joining the Blevins group and what that would look like. So we haven't recruited at all, but we've had people kind of coming to us. So what would be important is if it wasn't the 4 of us that joined together that could kind of help out with the extra business, then we want to make sure you have a plate, and it can only hold so much. So those leads, if you want to call them leads, those people that you can't help because you're not able to get to, that's probably when it's a good idea to bring someone in that could help you. That's another agent, but it's something that sometimes it's hard because we want to kind of control everything we have. But when it comes to that point, you're losing people, or people aren't being treated the way they need to be treated in a transaction, then I think that's probably when it's a good telltale of bringing other agents in to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people at the same token feel kind of like there's the ego component of it, right? Well, I can do it all myself. And then there's also the failure component of it. Like, I can't handle all of this, that you've got to just kind of weigh out and just say, look, you are one person. Let's be humble about this. Just bring in the help and have good systems and processes to train people up, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel over the years that there's been any game changers for you in your real estate career that have really helped you beyond Homes for Heroes and giving a niche, right? Has there been anything that's really helped you grow quickly that you implemented?
Most of the business isn't. I mean, I wouldn't say it's Homes for Heroes given. It's more referral given, and they don't even know about Homes for Heroes yet. Some people do, but I've actually been in the middle of a transaction and just thought they knew because it came from one of my hero clients. And actually closed one the other day, the week they were closing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this, that, and the other." And I was like, "Yeah, we were getting your Homes for Heroes check." And they're like, "What? What's that?" Had no idea. So I would say that referrals, just like I said before, and I know I keep saying it almost repetitively, just being out there, being yourself, being true, being real is key. And that's been, I think that's shine through with the referrals that come in. But other than that, I've not done any kind of CRM. I probably should. There's things that I hear that agents do great with, but I've not had to do those yet. And I'm very blessed because I think it's definitely a blessing so far.
Yeah. Do you attribute the amount of referrals that you get to anything besides being real and authentic? Like, what makes your clients feel that from you? I know that's a really weird way to phrase that question, but I hope you get what I'm trying to ask.
I think I do. I would say, because I think it all comes down to time too. Even though we don't have much time, you still try to take time and be there for them rather than treating them as only a client. So I always say clients become friends. See, there we go. There's kind of what'd you call it a minute ago?
Catchphrase.
Catchphrase. So yeah, clients become friends. It's true, because whenever we close a deal, I always feel like it's like breakup time, because you're talking to them every single day and texting every day, and then chirp, chirp. So like keeping up with social media with those people is great, because you don't have time to go to everybody's house for a cookout, or else you'd never go home. So just, I would say, and maybe even the flipping stuff, being able to flip houses and knowledge of real estate has always helped, because there's times that I would sit down and they'd tell me up front, "Hey, we're interviewing a couple different people for this listing." And I'm just like, "Okay, well, that's great. I think that's a great thing to do," because it is if you don't know people. But just letting that knowledge shine through rather than being fake about it and, trying to win them over with something that's not real. So I think that's probably attributed a lot with the referrals, because they're like, "Oh, well, you flip houses. What would you do here? Or how would you do that?" So those conversations come up a lot. And I'm, like I said, no expert. It's just something fun I like to do. So I do not claim to be the best whatsoever. It's just, letting that come into when you're showing a house as well, rather than just turning on the lights and letting them walk around. So.
Very cool. Yeah, that knowledge base is just so tremendous and so helpful in being able to guide your people through making a strong decision, for sure, which I know you love. You're just all about your clients, which I absolutely love and adore. Like, let's get to know you. We'll talk about what I do later. Like, how do we help you with your goals? And then I'm pretty sure those aren't actually your goals. Like, let's dive a little bit deeper so I can know you better, which I think is really cool. All right. Anything else? Because you, like I said, not many people can say they have 50 hero closings, let alone doing beyond those transactions outside of the hero closings. Any other tips or tricks or success strategies that any golden nuggets you want to share?
I just, and I keep going back to the same thing, I know, but just be genuine. Be genuine. And if a trick has worked for someone and it's not something that you're passionate about, or it's not something that you feel is something you're going to be great at, you can try it. But if it doesn't work, move on to something else. Be genuine in everything you do. If you have passion in something, it will shine through. It will show. So if you don't have Homes for Heroes, or you don't, and that's not your passion, but you do like doing it, find something else in your life that you're passionate about and try to tap into that to gain more business. If it's bowling, find a way to tap into your bowling resource, and to gain extra leads or clients from that area. But if it's not genuine, it's not passionate, I feel like that's where I see a lot of agents, not succeed. They look at more of the bottom dollar and say, "Well, I didn't make that much on this," or, "I worked too hard for that client." I don't ever want to say that, because it'll all come back to you in the end, So I think that's just been really my thing, is make sure you put passion into what you really care for, and it'll show.
Yeah, definitely. Good piece of sound advice, for sure. And it is, I think being business owners ourselves, right? We do look at return on investment and bottom line and how much did this cost and how much did it return. Sometimes you can't actually measure that from a dollar perspective,
Mhm.
or even a happiness, like doing something that you love and that you're really passionate about helps you feel fulfilled, right? And helps you have that motivation to overcome those challenges that you get presented with in the industry. So I think being able to fuel that within yourself can certainly help you sustain through the tough times for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So last but not least, let's talk COVID, right? How what you been doing? Have you just been sitting at home? How has this impacted your business?
Real quick, whoever just said that, serve, not sell, I love that.
Yes.
That's perfect, whoever that was. But yeah, COVID, oh my gosh. So in the beginning, I mean, I had a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And I don't know if you guys caught earlier, but my husband is now he's retired from law enforcement, and he's doing mortgages with Homes for Heroes. He's a Homes for Heroes lender. And he and I could work from home for the pretty most part, but it was crickets for a while because it was the huge impact and scare. As soon as they started shutting stuff down, there were so many people that did not want to put their home on the market anymore. There were people that did not want to go into other people's homes because they were scared. So in a way, it was kind of a vacation at first with the kids because we weren't sending them to school, and we try to keep it positive. So I say it's a vacation, and I don't take it lightly for those who are laid off whatsoever, because we didn't see that income coming in. It's delayed a little bit in real estate because you already had closings that were happening, but we did have some people actually lose their house being under contract because people lost their jobs, and that was really hard. And we had people wanting to offer and then find out they're getting laid off, and then they can't offer on a home anymore. So those things were really, really tough because trying to manage a 3, 5, and 12-year-old at home while being emotionally there for people that have literally had their rug pulled out from underneath their feet trying to purchase homes or list their house was tough. I mean, it was tough, but at the same time, when things picked back up, man, they picked up. I don't know about where you guys are at, but real estate is going great now. Most of the people that could not buy then are back out, and they've had some forgiveness things where they're able to go ahead and buy, and people are starting to get more comfortable with listing homes. So I feel like it's coming around here anyway. I don't know about where you guys are at, but yeah. It was a challenge at first.
The market has really skyrocketed, and I know I've been networking with a few people that are a bit higher up in the real estate industry, and they said, we were the last ones impacted by this. We weren't really shut down until a little bit. Every state was a little bit different, all that kind of stuff, which meant we were going to be the first ones out. And I've really seen that over every single market. Like it's up here in Northern Michigan, it's insane what's happening. Multiple offers, like you said, and houses flying off the shelves. And it's still a tight market, especially for our sellers with the amount of inventory that we have. It's tough for sure. It's great, right? For us, for our clients, it's not necessarily the best situation to be into, especially
our poor buyers. Poor buyers, yeah. And then, we're in my office right now, in the conference room. My husband has my 5-year-old because he doesn't start school until the 31st. So he's had a lot of screen time, unfortunately, during the COVID. My 3-year-old, we left in daycare, but we kept him at home. We just kept paying. But my 5-year-old, we're like, let's go ahead and cancel that because we don't know how the income's going to shake out. So he lost his spot. So when we started sending back, our 5-year-old has now become my little real estate assistant. If you're watching my Facebook page ever, you'll see his little face in there holding the check. He's so cute though. But that's been a whirlwind too, because we're having to trade off back and forth with him, trying to keep him good until he starts kindergarten.
Yeah.
So
close. You are so close, my dear.
Oh, it's kindergarten. It's like, really? He's going to kindergarten?
Too funny. Did you have to implement anything new, or besides adapting with the masks and maybe footies or gloves or hand sanitizers at the property and whatnot? What other things did you pick up from a business perspective to help you either do more business, to reconnect with your people? Like, how did that shift what you're doing?
I tried to focus a little bit more on doing some more social media stuff, because if I see him going highs and lows. When I'm busy, I don't have time to get on there and do anything. You might see a random post and I'm really good at it for one day, and then there's a week and I don't have anything going on. And I used to actually pay someone to manage that, and I think I'm going to do that again, um, just to help. But I'm also a very real person. I don't want them taking completely over, because I still want people to see me come through, not just business. So I would say that picked up a little bit for me, because I was able to tap back in. I tried to start a new little family outdoor adventure page, because that's really where my heart's at. Is we love to do camping and hiking and things like that. And if you log on, I don't know when the last time I posted, but that was an idea during COVID, when it was a little slow, to let people know, hey, we're still here. We're still, your real estate agent, your mortgage lender. When things start picking up again, this is what our family's doing. Just try to keep happiness and, look at the positive side of things. I would say that's probably the most I did, because we weren't getting out. I mean, we had, 3 kids to lug around. We weren't going to go in the store, just getting groceries delivered to us. So it was a lot of at-home stuff trying to implement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad you were able to stay positive, because I think that was one of the biggest struggles most people kind of experience, like just getting down or not showing yourself some grace when you're saying, my kids got more screen time. Well, when's the last time this happened to you?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
I would say that's been the challenge, is having to try to be a mom that's a stay-at-home mom with a demanding career. My husband having a demanding career, and us literally trading off and saying, okay, well, did you check what TV show they're watching, or did you see if they had lunch yet? Because I don't know about you, but many times I'll be working and forget to have lunch. I think you said that before. Yeah, so that would happen. I'm like, okay, but I'm forgetting my kids' lunch too if I'm not eating. So that has been a challenge. Now that things are very busy and we have him, it's like we've got to make sure we set an alarm or something saying lunchtime, because it's not just us anymore. So
Definitely. Oh, the struggle is real, man. Time blocking is one of my other things that has saved me this year for sure. So that's definitely helped. But all right, if you guys have questions for Nikki, whether it's negotiation techniques, a specific situation, and maybe tips and tricks on how she'd handle it. I know we've answered a couple of that came in from Drake and Rosie already, but keep typing those in. Nikki, if you're open to it, I've got a few rapid fire questions for you if you're.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
It's really not that hard, I promise.
I've not had caffeine because I didn't want to be jittery, so bear with me.
Right. You'll make it through it, I promise. There's only 3.
Okay.
The first one is probably the biggest one, but it's if you could go back 5 years ago, right? You just started in the industry. What piece of advice would you give yourself?
Don't take on too much, and don't take away from your family too much to make those things happen. Because clients, if they care, if they love you, they'll let you sit down at dinner with your family and let the phone call happen afterwards. I missed way too many dinners, way too much stuff, because I thought that I had to do it right then and right there. And in reality, it could have waited. So.
Love that answer. That's one of my favorite things to coach and train on, is just finding that balance and affording yourself that time, because it's so important. We don't live to work, right? We work to live. So.
Right. And I lose that. I have to tell myself that daily almost.
Yeah. Struggle is real, being workaholics and whatnot. Next question is, I don't know if are you a book nerd?
No, actually I don't read. I'm awful.
What do you do for learning? Do you do podcasts? Do you do webinars? How do you intake growth stuff?
Honestly, I am someone that if I'm on my phone and I see something that sparks my interest, or if I've heard about it, I do a little research on it, find out about it, read an article or two, and move on. Or if I say, okay, that could probably help me out, I'll do research. So I don't know what I'm titled, but I'm more of a, that intrigued me, let me look it up and find out more about it kind of person.
Okay. You're an I-type personality for sure. Oh, that's awesome.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah. Do you have anything that's caught your attention lately that you thought was like, oh, that's a good little nugget?
Let me think of the last thing. I can't think right now. Let me think on that one. Hopefully that wasn't a bullet question because I totally bombed that one.
No, that's all right. I'm grading you on this, just so you know.
No, I'm thinking, what's the last thing I was looking at? Yeah.
All right, you ready for this? This one's
Okay.
really easy. Some people get stumped by this one, but what's your favorite room in your house?
Favorite room?
Mm-hmm.
Living room.
Just because it's the family space?
Yes. Yeah, that's where we all gather and hang out and create memories.
Yeah. Awesome. 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 I'm going to make sure we don't. That's it. You're done.
What?
Breathe. Breathe. No more rapid fire questions. Funny. Well, we've had a ton of engagement and interaction on the chat for sure. Like you mentioned, Drake said, serve, not sell, which is one of our favorite quotes for sure. And I know that's absolutely your philosophy is just, find out what your clients actually want and what they actually need and help them achieve that. So I love that you love on them so much, for sure. Before we go, anything else you want to say for parting words? You said a lot. You've so much information here.
I hope so. I would say just don't be hard on yourself. If you're a person like me and you feel like you've done something that is not good enough, don't beat yourself up about it, because if you get so busy, you just have to take time to take a deep breath, look at it again, and you'll see the work in it. So other than that, I think I pretty much said be genuine and be real too many times already. But just caring about others, making sure that that's seen and known and real is just I think number one.
Yeah, very good. Well, Nikki, I really appreciate your time and for you being open and sharing both from an agent's perspective and then also a cop's perspective. We don't actually get to see that very often. And I know in the comments, I don't know if you saw it when we posted that we were going to be doing this interview together, somebody else was just about to retire from law enforcement. And they're like, I'm wanting to be like Nikki. I want to be a top producer.
Oh, it's all God. I promise. It's not, I'm no one special. I think it's going to be great. I did speak with someone, I think they just retired, and they're going to be, they're doing Homes for Heroes. They just signed up, and super supportive and happy to let them know anything, that I can do to help. So it's a totally different animal. I didn't do social media before. I had a fake little page. No one knew my name when I was an officer because I didn't want people knowing where I had a Facebook. Didn't want my arrestees to see I had a Facebook. So it's a different animal. I mean, I liked wearing my uniform and having my hair pulled back and not having to get all girly. But, now I'm kind of adapting. I'm getting there necessarily. So it's fun, and I think that they'll do well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you again for your time and your openness and your heart and compassion for sure. I really appreciate it. For those of you that couldn't make it for the full one, we do publish these every single Wednesday, usually afternoon. They'll be on the Facebook group on Thursday morning, and join us next week if you can for our next episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. All right. Thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yep. Have a great day.